We're going to begin because I value your time, and we've promised to begin this on time and end on time. We always limit our uh, mini conferences to 90 minutes, and this is the 17th of our mini conferences that we've held, sponsored by the Rotary Youth Services Task Force, Zones 26, 27. Want to welcome all of you again, and note that after being unable to convene gatherings like RYLA for 2 years due to the COVID pandemic, all of our 50 or our 30 Rotary districts here in zones 26, 27 have been faced with this daunting task of rebuilding what we believe is an invaluable program. It's traditionally had a profound impact on the lives of our youth. We feel it's essential. And so as we rebuild, uh, this is what we're talking about today. How have our districts been reshaping this impactful leadership training camp in these times that have changed, including rising costs, and as well as the challenge of attracting and working with youth who have also changed during this unprecedented interruption of their lives. So this is the focus of our 90-minute mini conference today on the topic of reshaping RYLA in changing times. Before we listen to our presenters this morning, we'd like to hear from you via three quick polls about what you feel works best with RYLAs as we consider reshaping them. So we're going to launch the first of our polls here, and we'd like to know, first of all, what do you feel is the ideal venue for RYLA? We've listed a university campus, a high school campus, a disabilities accessible facility, uh, or a youth camp in the mountains. What do you feel is the ideal venue? And this is select one. Can you all see that? Okay. Okay, and the second question we're asking you to look at there is, what do you feel is the ideal length for a RYLA? And the first choice is 2 to 3 days. The second choice is 4 to 5 days. The third choice is 6 to 7 days. So we'd like to have your response on that one. And then the next one is a little tougher. We have 10 choices listed here, and we'd like for you to list what you believe are the top 5 uh, elements that you feel, if we're going to reshape RYLA, what are the 5 that you feel ought to be there that are most important? So if you can respond to those questions, we'd appreciate it as you join us. Again, the first question involves the location, the venue. What do you feel is the ideal venue? And the second question deals with the ideal length of time for a RYLA. And then the third question is what do you feel are the top 5 elements that you feel just we really have to have in a RYLA for a RYLA to accomplish what it needs to do? So take a few more minutes and give you a chance to record your responses to those.
Art, could you put that poll up again? I submitted my answer to the first one and now I'm not seeing the poll anymore. Or did I blow it?
I don't know. Do everyone see the poll still up there? Or
Yeah, I did the same thing, Debbie. I didn't see the whole thing and answered quickly, and yeah.
I don't know there's a way to repost it. Is there, Chris?
I don't think so. Is there a poll quizzes section option at the bottom? It just might be for hosts.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll and let's see what kind of responses y'all have made to these questions. And we're going to share the results of the poll. And it looks like on the first question, there seems to be an overwhelming feeling that the best choice for a venue is a youth camp in the mountains. 68% of you who responded said that was your choice. And then looking at the ideal length of a RYLA, it looks like from 2 to 3 days, and appears to be the choice of 55% of you. 35% said 4 to 5 days. And then going down to our 5 most essential elements, it looks like the most essential one down here that you have identified would be by 85% problem solving exercises. And then following up on that, 65% with 4-way test ethics training. And then right behind that at 60% would be the public speaking training. Very, very interesting. All right. Thank you for your input. We appreciate that. Now, during the pandemic, our districts discovered the possibilities of online gatherings, such as this one. And they began experimenting with those with RYLA applications of this newly discovered tool. And most of our districts since the pandemic have completely returned to in-person RYLA camps. However, District 5320 in Orange County in Southern California has developed instead a hybrid RYLA. It's seeking to utilize the best of both of these approaches. And we're privileged to have with us this morning a past district governor, Siska Stellhorn, who has been integrally involved with this innovative RYLA program in District 5320 to tell us 3 things really: why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and what results she feels they have been getting by this approach. So Siska's going to tell us her story, and then we're going to give you a chance to ask questions of her afterwards. So, Siska, take it away.
All right, thank you. And thank you all for being here on a Saturday. Some of us are wetter than others, I think, but we all need the rain. So again, thank you. And I know several people on the call. It's nice to see you and on this call. So thank you again for having me. So yes, what happened in COVID is we had to cancel in 2020, we had to cancel. And Mike Darnold, who some of you know, he's our godfather of RYLA in our district, went on a quest to find another option, and he found Leader in You. And it is a woman primarily. Her name is Bridget Markwood. She's an educator and has a degree in communication, and she's been doing RYLAs for 20 years. And she decided that she was going to put together a RYLA and use past RYLA students to help create an online gaming model. I use the word gaming, meaning sessions that are fun and interactive, and they learn things as a result of it. And what we discovered during that, the short version is, it was 35 hours on Zoom over a week. The people who were part of it, the Rotarians and all the other quote unquote families, we spent 20 hours in learning the curriculum and learning how to do it. So it was a large commitment of time. And we were all wondering what would happen. And what we discovered is that when we started, we had, I think it was 163 campers. And 35 hours later, we had 163 campers graduating. And some of those kids were homeless and they were living in a variety of places, but they all were able to experience RYLA. And we created the same atmosphere that we really have in person RYLA by other means online. We had a bonfire at night, and they had some more marshmallows, and they had a little light, and they went in their rooms, and they were dark, and then they got to share. The great part about, I think, our evenings together is the campers get to share, and they shared, and at the end they really bonded. And as a result of that one, we still have kids from who are now adults, they're in college, and they come back and are facilitators and admin people for our RYLA this year. Again, they've been coming back year after year. So it was profound. So when we went back to maybe being in person, the next year what we did is we incorporated 3 days of Zoom with 3 days of in-person camp. And again, we found that was very valuable. And the reason that the in-person or the Zoom is valuable is it gives them an opportunity to see what's going on, get a feel for camp. We put them in their teams. We call them color teams. We put them in their color teams to do breakout sessions. So they actually get to learn about personality types through exercises and communication styles. And so what we discovered when we went to in-person camp, that the kids, when they got to the bus on Friday morning, they knew people, they immediately started to engage. It didn't take them until 2 p.m, but they were up and running. When they hit camp, they were up and running to do the rest of the exercises and engage in camp. We didn't have to spend all Friday afternoon doing icebreakers. So it really made a difference. And then what we did the next year was we went to 2 days, and then this year we're going to 1 day, and that is on Zoom. And the reason really is more, I think, for the parents rather than the kids, because I think the kids get it, but the parents, it kind of conflicts when they have so much stuff on their plate when they're in school anyway. I don't think we've had some blowback from the parents. So we're trying to do it 1 day this year, and it's the Sunday before, and it's 3 hours. And then they have a room that they can stay in and talk afterwards with their fellow campers, and a lot of them will stay for 30-40 minutes afterwards and talk. And what they learn there is a little bit about the dynamics of the camp and the procedures to get to camp. And then they do breakout sessions with their teams. Again, they're assigned teams, and they will be learning personality styles or leadership tools so that they'll be able to interact better and quicker at camp. The whole idea is to get them prepared ahead of time so that when they get to camp and they're doing their real heavy duty activities, that they are set to go and they feel comfortable in their team. So now what we've done, so again, this is what we've done. And the other part of that is that where in the past we used to bring in speakers, and then we would break out afterwards with the families, and the Rotarians would basically be the leaders of the teams. Now we have the campers who come back as trailblazers the second year, and then the third year they come back as what we call junior counselors, and the fourth year they come back as senior counselors. The juniors and the seniors have replaced the parents, Rotarians, and the trailblazers are involved in working in their own curriculum during camp. So we have 40, we bring out 40 trailblazers. We have 80 that last year vied for it, and we have about 100 and something this year that vied for it, but we really have to narrow it down to just 40. And then the trailblazers all year, they have their own curriculum, and they meet once a month. And then at camp, they have their own curriculum, and then they facilitate some of the classes. So the Rotarians have now kind of backed out of that family structure, and it's much more peer-to-peer training, or not training, but facilitation, I would call it, or interaction. And again, they all appear to really like it. And what we're also seeing is each year when they come back, they're getting a next level of leadership training and education. so that all of this will help them not only in college, but in the workforce. So I get these love letters I call them love letters from parents. I'm sure we all do, right? And love letters from these kids. And they all talk about not just the wonderful experience they had with all of the individuals, but how they know that this is going to help them be a leader and how this is going to help them at school. I received one recently from a young girl who was I know her parents, and she went through it. She just graduated from Princeton, and her mom was just so convinced that when she came back from RYLA, she was a changed person. She had direction, she had new skills that she could use, and that helped her get into Princeton. She's now going to be a lawyer in DC. So we felt that we wanted to keep that model, and we also like working with Leader in You, even though it's a little expensive. She really has a handle on what's going on with our youth. And last year, we had our first COVID kids. And I don't know if any of you discovered that the kids were different last year than they had been the 2 years before. And it was really because of COVID. So what we did is we then implemented some training ahead of time with all of the staff that was going to be there about what to look for and how to deal with them. And I'm sure that if we had been doing it the way we did before, we probably wouldn't have those same tools. So again, we found it really valuable. So some of the things that we have done, I know you were talking about the poll said the four-way test. So we have a whole evening session on the four-way test. And the kids learn about each one of the four-way test areas. And then, so they talk about it in a group setting, and then in their teams, they talk about it. And then each team has to create a skit around utilizing it in their life, each of the elements of the four-way test. And then they get up and they present it. So it's like we're taking the four-way test, just knowing about it, but really implementing it so they'll be able to utilize it in their life. And we found that has been really a valuable tool. I'm looking at my notes. I could talk about this forever. So the other thing that's been really interesting from this is that, as I said, the kids, when they're the next year, they're called trailblazers. They really want to participate. So on our main team, my main team of the RYLA committee, we have 3 past RYLA students who are there, and they have asked to be part of the team so that they could give input so that we could learn what they think and they can understand what we're doing. And now those kids are now taking part of the leadership at camp and with the administrative part of it. So we find that that's fabulous. The other thing that we've discovered is that some of our campers have gotten to be Rotarian age, and but they don't live. You know, RYLA kids live all over, and then they go to school and they live all over. So what we've done is we set up a satellite club in my club of all ex-RYLA students. None of them live in California. I'm in Southern California. None of them live there. They all have very different kind of jobs. They're all young professionals, little entrepreneurs, and they have now become the satellite club that we have then been able to put in some of our members who can't stay in the club. We're morning meeting. They can't stay there, or they want to come and they have unique circumstances. They join that satellite club with these RYLA kids. And we all know that they are never going to break off. They're always going to be the RYLA funding and feeding it, but they're involved with Rotary. We've also discovered, and I'm sure you have too, is that these kids now will go to college and then they stay in touch and they come back to work in RYLA, but they also form Rotary clubs. And so that's been really fun. And then the other thing that's happened is that we've encouraged these kids to apply for Global Grant Scholars to go in other countries. And so we've had a couple of those who are pursuing that as well. So let's see, when, why, how, and our results. You know, the other wonderful thing that I feel that with the curriculum that we're doing, we do Boujon, we do exercises on Friday afternoon, and then we do something called a campaign where they have to work together as a group and solve puzzles basically that are around leadership. And then we do have a labyrinth that we do on Friday night and Saturday night. Hope everybody knows what that is. And it's out. We sometimes we do them inside, and sometimes we do it outside, and it's one of the reflection points. And what has been interesting about doing that, it's out in a field, it's pitch black, it's usually 9 to 10 to 12 o'clock at night. We have lights out there and very low music, and the kids go out, and you would not believe walking around a labyrinth how many of them cry and sit and contemplate and gather afterwards. And then it's such a reflection point for them that we have. It's just marvelous to watch them. And then when they come back and talk about the depth that with this whole program has affected them, and the use of the labyrinth has actually triggered that to come forward. So what else would I the team building component of it, I think, is really significant. I know that when I went to law school, I didn't get to do team building stuff and really leadership stuff until after I got out of law school. But what they get to learn right away is personality types, communication styles, and leadership styles. And what we try to do is put teams together who have a mix of those styles so that they have to then in real life look to see who they, how they can communicate with somebody. We're very intentional about that. We do a little testing that they don't know ahead of time, Briggs-Myers kind of stuff, so that we make sure that we put them all in different groups. And it seems to be really fabulous because they talk about how they're different, and they look at the diversity differently, and they come together. It's like it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, who you're talking about, where you come from. It's like they're one big melting pot, and they use it as a very creative way to move forward with the progress of the programs that they're doing. I call them, again, games. So I think that's all I can't tell what time it is. Does anybody have any questions for me? Can elaborate on anything, or?
I do, Siska. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Regatta. How are you?
I'm good. You said that you would do like a hybrid RYLA. Have the students that physically attended and the students that were not able to physically attend, have they been interviewed, and do you know if there is a huge difference in the impact it has on them if they were hybrid students?
So they're hybrid. They're hybrid because they come to a Zoom session, a couple days or 3 days, and then they come in person. So they do both. What we've discovered from all the testing is that everybody seems to like the hybrid portion of it. And they really like going in person. What they really like going in person about is unplugging. They like to be able to we make them give their phones and all of their electronics away when they come. They can't have it back until they get on the bus Sunday, and they have to fill a questionnaire out about camp before they can get their phones back. So we get some really good reporting, and they like it. I mean, I think they like both of them. It's a little different, but they really seem to like the opportunity to kind of understand what's going on, get some legs under them before they meet in person. But when they meet in person, they feel that opportunity of the hybrid meant that they know somebody and they know who they're going to be dealing with, and they feel like they have bonded and they can move forward as a team. So it's been a really good team building exercise for them. And those sessions are not run by Rotarians. They are run by past RYLA students. So the Rotarians are part of it, but again, it's about peer-to-peer really training versus Rotarians standing up there and being the adult. It's more, as I said, peer-to-peer, and that seems to make a difference too. They're not as shy. They're willing to open up. They engage with each other and with the adults differently, like adults. and the interaction is much freer and easily started. I don't know. Did that answer your question, Regatta?
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
And what
You have
we've
a
done
question.
is that if they come to camp, they have to sign an agreement that they are going to attend. And so, they know they're going to miss school. We can give them a letter. They can get out of school on Friday, but they make a commitment ahead of time that they are going to attend. And so only the few ones that stop, have to back out might be because of a illness or something else. So we usually have really good buy-in once that happens.
Mhm. Yes.
Somebody
Chuck, you had a question.
Yes, good morning, everybody. And Siska, thank you so much. And really resonates with me when you talk about as we get closer to more peer-to-peer, I think there's goodness in there for almost everything. My question for you is during your camp, what do you guys do for peace?
You said, Scott, peace? You said
Yes.
peace?
Yeah. Do you have a peace component?
Well, we do. We actually do something called Rotary Warriors. And one of the elements of the Rotary Warriors is a peace pole and understanding making a peace pole. I would say the other thing about peace is that we have stuff about characteristics. So we have something called Character Mart, where you go in and you look at what it's like a shopping cart anyway, and there are all these cards with different characteristics, and you go through and you pick which ones you think you are, which ones you would like to be, and which ones you might want to get rid of. And then you go and you have a dialogue about it. And to me, when you learn more about who you are and how you are interacting with the world, that probably is more of a peace component. We also have communication, and not a DEI at all, but communication and a lot of exercises and dialogues that look at differences and how to work with them and look at the creativity part of it, which again, in my opinion, is it makes us better if we understand others more, and we are inclusive. So does that help? What I will tell you is when you talk about peace, one of the offshoots of this is that Leader and You, I was part of the process. They have created a game model, and if any of you have been at the RI convention for the last 2 years, you would have seen it in the House of Friendship. It's an RYLA on peace, and what we did was created a new world and 12 new countries, and created scenarios based on the Institute of Economics and Peace. There are 8 pillars of peace, and it all involves those 8 pillars of peace, and each one of the countries has different characteristics and needs, and the students have to go in. There were 8 rounds. They go in with each country. They have a problem that relates to one of those areas. They have to figure out scenarios. Then they get ranked, and they get points as a result of it, and they go through each one of those scenarios, all the kids, and then at the end there is a nuclear disaster, and they all have to work together to solve the issue. And that is a direct result of the RYLAs. So that's the new thing that's happened concerning RYLA.
Thank you.
All right. I could talk forever.
You mentioned that the Bridget Marquardt part is kind of expensive. What are you charging total for your RYLA scholarships now, and how much of that is the virtual?
Well, so this year we're planning on, we take 200 campers, 195 to 200 campers. We take 40 trailblazers. We take about 60 Rotarians and other the junior counselors, senior counselors, and those that are past RYLA. So we usually have about 300 people at camp. Our budget this year is 138,000. 22,000 of that is for Leader and You. They charge per person, and then they charge us a fee for the training for the trailblazers, 40 trailblazers. So this year we decided we were going to do something different. And fundraising, we've always raised about 12,000 to 15,000. I will say that over the last, I just did this over the last 10 years, we looked at how much RYLA in our district, if we've lost money or made money. Some years we've lost money. When we first used Leader New, we lost 20,000. But if you look over a 10-year span, we're ahead $2,000. So it kind of washed itself out. But this year our fee is $650 per camper if you pay it by December 31st. If you don't pay it by December 31st, you have until February 1st, and it's $675. It runs about $685 per camper, and that includes, paying for 300 people at camp.
Yeah.
So we tried this year. We thought this year we could maybe charge clubs for Trailblazers or ask the Trailblazers to maybe fundraise for their fee, for their cost. And the Trailblazers and the youth kind of did a big pushback, and we're very concerned about that. So we didn't. What we do though is that we ask our junior and senior counselors and our Trailblazers to actually do a project, a service project that they design, and they facilitate it with their Rotary Club or somebody else before they come to camp. So after they're a camper, then they have to put together a project of some sort in Rotary before they can come back to camp the next year. Hope that helps. Did that help?
Yeah. Any other questions for Siska? Debbie?
Yeah, thank you, Siska. This has been phenomenal. Just one quick clarification question, getting back to your hybrid model. It sounds like you've kind of transitioned from during COVID or just after COVID, almost like a 50-50 time spent, virtually time spent at camp. And it sounds like you've now transitioned to a point where, correct me if I'm wrong, you have 3 hours virtually at the beginning, and that's all. And then the kids get on the bus and go to camp for what, 5 days, 6 days? So the balance of virtual and in person has changed?
It has changed, and we're going to experiment with it. And we may go back to 2 days or 3 days. And we have a 3-day camp. It goes from Friday morning, and it goes at 8 o'clock. They get on a bus in Tustin, California, and they get back to Tustin on Sunday at 4. So they are out of camp at 2 o'clock on Sunday. On Sunday. So what is really interesting is that, we all have to pivot all the time, and we all have to do some creative things. And what we've been learning since COVID is that every year there's some kind of a tweak that we have. And we feel like last year we felt like we were in a much calmer place and a much easier place, because you change your Rotary staff all of the time. Rotarians who come and go, but you have 80 people or 90 people up there that you have to feed and work with and deal with to get everything done over those 3 days. And so every year, though, it feels like we're getting more and more comfortable with the model, and then we're always tweaking the curriculum a little bit based on what happened the year before. Or as I said, last year, it was those COVID kids that came out, and the teachers were saying there was an issue, and so we wanted to hit it ahead of time. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Siska. Chris, you had something you want to ask before we move on here? Chris?
Yes. Hi, Siska. Thank you so much. Along with being the youth service chair for District 5340, I've also been a chair of RYLA and facilitated several times up in Idlewild. So I'm very interested in this, in the pre-online, getting to know each other, teamwork, and the online gaming idea, because I think it would really help make it more effective as soon as we arrived up in camp that first afternoon. Are you willing to share your curriculum or the gaming with other clubs who may want to adopt that, or do we all have to work and from scratch and make that up? Because I imagine that took a great deal of work and planning.
So that's what we hired Bridget for. But I'm sure that she would talk to you. What do I have? I have a notebook with the information in it, but I could put you in contact with her. I'm sure she would be interested to talking to you about. But we license her work, so it's not ours. Uh, it's fitted for us, but we really have a license with her. So, but I could get you in touch with her if you want to email me, or I'll put my email in the chat. Email me and we
Well,
can talk about it further.
that would be really helpful if you would give all of us your email, and I will contact you and see
Right.
if get her name, see if we
Yeah.
could do that. So
Right.
thank
And
you very much.
I think you use Idlewild Pines, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and we've just changed our Boujon provider to a new provider, which will be interesting. Because the other thing that we do on Saturdays, we used to have Boujon run all of Saturday, and now we have Boujon only run the high ropes, and then so half of the day they work with half of the camp, and while they're working with the camps on the high ropes, we have strategically planned exercises, games, again, outdoors, all that's outdoor games, fun with young, and a variety of other things that they do outside. And then we flip so that we're not using the ground strategically planned like we used to with Boujon.
Okay. Thank you. We've never used them that I know of. So for high ropes. So yeah. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Siska. This has been very, very interesting, helpful. And I want to move on with our program today. We have assembled a three-person panel today to share with us their RYLA insights and experience. And I'll first introduce all three of our panelists, and then they will each make 5-minute presentations before we pose several questions to them to discuss as a panel, after which you'll be able to answer or to ask them questions. So our first panel member is from District.
Art, I'm
Yes,
sorry to interrupt you. Michael, you have your hand up. Is this a
sorry.
question previous from a previous speaker or something else?
I want to thank Siska for her report out, and that's a Star Wars version right there. So I appreciate hearing all the details that you gave. I was just interested as the district governor nominee for 5340, and Chris, thanks for being on this call today. Just trying to find out how many on the call are anywhere close to what we heard Siska report out on. Or are the people here that are like Chris looking for a template to follow? What does that look like here today? Because I heard a lot of things that are going on, and it's I think hybrid is great. I think everything Siska outlined, but is everybody where she is right now? And how many of you are looking to design something that could even remotely come close to that?
Those are great questions. Thank you, Michael. And I'm going to defer to Art. Art, do we want to address that towards the end of our session? Because I know that we've got, some speakers
Talk
that are
about
lined
that
up.
after we have our panel, and I'll come back to that. And I would also like for you to put something in the chat about that. If you, where you are with your district on this, and where you think you're going. So if you would add those in the chat, I would appreciate that. But our first panelist today is from District 5170 in the Bay Area of Northern California. It's Shannon Scabo. She'll be sharing with us how she helped her lead her RYLA program in this largest Interact district in the world through the pandemic, and have been navigating through the growing pains and innovations in that program since going through that interruption. And then the second panelist is going to be from District 5495 in Arizona, Troy Campbell. As a district Interact chair, he's actually a product of the Interact and the RYLA programs in Beaumont, California, where he grew up. And he's been very actively involved with both the senior high RYLA and the middle school junior RYLA for 6th, 7th, and 8th grades in District 5495 in Arizona. And our third panel member you've seen is Dr. Debbie Ford, retired veterinarian from District 5080 in Idaho, who has been deeply involved with RYLA leadership in her district and who serves as the liaison from the Zones 2627 Rotary Youth Services Task Force to the relatively new RYLA Community of Practice. She's going to be telling us about that helpful network, which supports RYLA leaders and how you can join that invaluable support group. So those are the three panelists this afternoon. Each of them will be giving us about 5 minutes of their experience and insights, and then we'll be asking the panel several questions, and then following that, we'll be enabling you to ask them questions and to discuss as well. So Shannon, go ahead and take it away with your presentation.
Thank you, Art. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Shannon Scalbo. I'm actually subbing in last minute for Justin Raja, so only hope to do half as good as him, but I'll try my best to speak on the District 5170 RYLA as best as I can. So my connection to RYLA goes back to when I first attended as a camper in 2015, and that week kind of changed the trajectory of how I understood leadership, community, and truthfully my own potential in what's brought me back. So as I came back as a counselor in 2017 and have been returning ever since, with next year my 9th year on staff. Because I've been around for a bit of time, I have had a front seat to the evolving RYLA program throughout the years, so I'd like to speak on that a little bit. One of the biggest shifts I feel that we've made is updating our leadership curriculum to reflect the realities that high school students are facing today. The leadership courses are designed with the understanding that these kids are navigating a very different world than we did. They have increased academic pressures, social media, mental health challenges, and a post-pandemic landscape that really has changed how young people connect. So our sessions, our activities and discussions, they're very intentional. They don't just touch leadership, but they also acknowledge the times we're in and the needs that this generation brings with them. And then when COVID hit, it didn't just cancel camp for a year. It really broke this natural momentum that made our RYLA thrive. And we've spent the past few years rebuilding that energy from the ground up. So past campers used to come home energized and inspired, and they became our best ambassadors. But then when COVID hit, we had that gap, and that continuity of like marketing stopped happening, right? Those are the people who reminded Rotarians why sponsoring students mattered. And that word of mouth really created a natural pipeline for monetary support. But that momentum quieted with COVID. That organic free marketing, it simply wasn't there anymore. And so we found ourselves in a position where we weren't familiar with, right? We're having to actively recruit high schoolers for open spots instead of, we used to have to turn them away. So one way we've worked to rebuild that momentum is by amplifying camper and counselor voices at the Rotary barbecue. So in our week, we host a barbecue for all of the sponsors to come to camp and see what we've been doing for the last week. And we have testimonials from both staff and campers. The campers are handpicked by staff that week. And these Rotarians get to hear firsthand how impactful that experience was, but not just immediately, like the immediate impact from current campers, but also through testimonials from staff who came back 5 years, 10 years, even 15 years later, right? And I think that longevity really, like that longevity of impact of RYLA really speaks for itself. And I think that's another powerful form of marketing is the retention of our staff for the D5170. We have counselors who return year after year, and not because they have to, but because the environment we've created is really special. And that continuity is meaningful, right, to the campers and to our program. And so when young people see a staff that is passionate, diverse, and committed, they want to be a part of it. And that's not accidental, right? It's something we build intentionally through application and interviewing. Our staff also stays connected with campers, encouraging them to apply for what we call counselors in training, which is your first year on staff. We encourage them to apply for that months before interviewing even happens, right? Like during camp, we're like, okay, everyone write down like names of campers that you think would be good staff. And then we end up reaching out to them. We like all set a date on our calendar, and on that day send a reminder in our Slack of like, don't forget to send a message to who you think would be good for applying. And we want students to feel seen, valued, and genuinely sought after. And during counselor interviews, we intentionally shape a balanced and well-supported staff. So one that reflects different strengths, backgrounds, and lived experiences. But it's not enough for someone to just want to be involved, right? We want them to feel prepared, supported, and part of something bigger than themselves. So to support our team's success, we've built staff development into really every stage of the RYLA process. So before camp, we host a dedicated counselor and training day. We also have a staff-wide Zoom meeting to review expectations, clarify roles, and kind of an open forum Q&A pre-camp. And then during camp, we have incorporated structured mentorship opportunities, whether that's intentional check-ins between co-counselors, or we're also divided into what we call seasons, like the emergence, the risings, and the cycles. And that is divided based on how many years you've been on staff. And then the support staff, kind of the people who are planning year round, check in with each group of season individually on like how the week is going, how can we pivot, what's going well, and just that general dialogue is really great for the week of camp. And then after camp, we close the loop with detailed staff feedback forms, which just kind of creates an ongoing cycle of reflection, growth, and continuous improvement, really. So those are kind of all the changes that I've seen. Curriculum updates, rebuilding momentum, strengthening staff culture are all kind of a part of how we've reshaped the 5170 into a program that really speaks to this generation while preserving the spirit that has always made RYLA really powerful.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon.
Oh, yeah,
And,
send them all, honey.
all right, I'm going to call on Troy Campbell now to share with us his 5-minute segment, and then we'll hear from Debbie, and then we'll come back to our panel.
Thank you so much, Art. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Art. As you mentioned, I was born and raised in District 5330. So there's a lot of background noise I'm getting. Are there folks getting background noise?
We were.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just felt like I was. Oh. Is there someone else talking?
Go ahead. It was
Okay.
I muted. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Chris. Thank you so much. All right. So as Art alluded to, I grew up in District 5330 in Southern California. I heard some folks talk about that earlier, and that's where I first attended RYLA. I actually attended RYLA because the cute girl that asked me to go, that was at Interact, is now my wife. She said, "You'll have a good weekend if you go to RYLA." So I went up to Big Bear. At the time, it was in Big Bear, California. I was a junior in high school, and we spent the weekend in RYLA, and it really opened my eyes to realize Interact is not just my high school. Because for the longest time, I thought Interact was my high school. I thought it was a local thing. I didn't know it was an international thing. I thought Rotary was a local thing. I thought it was a local club, not an international club. And so I left RYLA just so inspired, so ready to, find out who I was. It actually inspired me to think about going into education. So now I work in higher education. And I left there thinking, when I grow up, I want to be Rotarian because this is just such an amazing opportunity. Well, I haven't grown up yet, but I did join Rotary. I know a few of you have heard me say that before. But and so once I became an adult, or by age-wise, I was looking around for a Rotary Club and found my local Rotary Club in Mesa, Arizona, which is in District 5495. So for me, as a high school student, being able to participate in RYLA as a junior, and then I was selected to go back as a RYLA alumni for my senior year, and unfortunately, I was unable to attend RYLA my senior year, the actual camp. I did all the preparation, but I could not attend the camp because I had to take an ACT exam instead of for college, and I was like, I can't do that. So long story long, been in Interact. I'm currently Interact District Chair, and I've attended both and presented at our junior RYLA and our senior RYLA, as we call it. Art alluded to it earlier. Our junior RYLA is for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, and our senior RYLA is for our high school 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade students. We typically like to get students before their 12th grade year, but every year we get a few students in their 12th grade year that just kind of propels them for that next step. So our junior RYLA is really about finding out about themselves. So we do a leadership thing where we help them learn more about themselves, learn about who they are and what they bring to leadership. And that transition goes into senior RYLA where they learn about how to lead others. And so senior RYLA in high school is all about leading others because they've gotten a chance to learn about themselves and now they lead others. And one note that we're looking at this year for senior RYLA that I want to highlight today is about Rotary Youth Services presentation. In the past, we've had the Rotary services from Rotary Youth Exchange, from Interact, from Rotaract, Youth Exchange, all the youth services program from Rotary, and we have them do a presentation. Interact, I said that. And so this year we're doing more of like a club involvement fair type thing where each of the youth services of Rotary will have their own table and students can come ask questions. And so it really is a feeder to the Interact program, but also it goes both ways where students find out about Interact at RYLA and then they go back and want to start an Interact club. And so Art's done a presentation every year about the Interact District Council and sharing for students that have been involved in Interact. Now they can take that next step of leadership, which is Interact District Council, where they're leading their peers. And so I think here in 5495, we do a great job of really getting that middle school, getting that into senior RYLA, high school RYLA, and then giving them that advanced leadership opportunity to be a junior counselor at junior RYLA or at senior RYLA. And so it is a really good flow of leadership. And our students, I think, really take advantage of the opportunity to be in the mountains for the first time, maybe even seeing snow for the first time, because in Arizona, we don't get a lot of thing besides just sun, at least in central Arizona. So this is an opportunity for students to go to the mountains and see some snow. And it's always entertaining to see a student that has never seen snow before and look up and be so mesmerized by this white stuff coming from the sky. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. And Art, I guess I'm ready to jump in here. Greetings, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Debbie Ford, and as Art mentioned, I'm here today to take 5 minutes to introduce you to this concept, which has really now come to be reality, of what we call the community of practice. To give you just a little bit of background, the model that we call community of practice was born out of academia, an effort to gather scholars with knowledge and skill on a particular topic, a particular area of focus, to provide opportunities for these folks to gather on a regular basis, to share challenges, to ask questions, to even determine what questions need to be asked, and then to learn from each other in an effort to advance an initiative. So on the task force, we talked about this, and Chris Miller really kind of led the charge, but we all fell into agreement that what a great idea to form a community of practice for each of our Rotary Youth programs. So starting about a year ago, we launched this idea, and since then, we have indeed formed a community of practice in Interact, in Youth Exchange, in Youth Protection, and of course, in RYLA. So today, I am here to sort of inform you and let you know what our RYLA community of practice is all about, and probably most importantly today, to invite you to join us. If you become interested in becoming a member of our RYLA community, please, please, please put your email address and or phone number with your name and district in the chat. And Chris, as the technological guru that he is, will be able to capture your information and we will be able to stay in touch. So please, please, please do that. So first,
Thanks for volunteering me, Debbie. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
my pleasure, Chris. You're the guy. You're the guy. Where would we be without you? So I'm just going to read you, to start with, a very brief definition of what a community of practice is. Communities of practice are groups of people who share a common purpose and learn how to pursue this purpose from one another. The purpose of a community of practice is to gather a group of people who are interested and involved in a particular area of focus so they can share ideas, share best practices, ask questions of each other, and more. And I don't know about you, but so far in this current mini conference we're all a part of, I think you could, if I asked you to, get a pen and paper and make a short list of the topics you want to follow up with. Chris, Michael, Shannon, all of us listening to you all, we want to be a part of it. We want to learn more. What are our next steps? How can we be better? So Chris is going to post in chat a document that I am now going to share. And before I share it, I want to give you a little background. Yesterday, I intended to take this, what I'm now calling a menu of potential discussion items that a community of practice could take up in the interest of RYLA. I intended to shorten this list into just a little list of bullet points so you could just look at it at a glance and say, oh, that's really cool. I could see that. I could see that. Well, what ended up happening yesterday as I sat down with this document and a cup of coffee is it got longer, not shorter. And this morning in my brain, I'm already thinking of 3 or 4 more things that I should add to this list. But I'm not going to do that to you today. But let me share the list as it looks now. And we're just going to scan it, just going to get your juices flowing. So hang on just a sec. Okay, I think I did it. Can y'all see that? Thumbs up?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So to begin, at the top of this document, as a matter of a header, important for you all to know that the moderator of our RYLA community of practice is a Rotarian by the name of Freddie Saxton. He was unable to be here with us today. He is from District 5110. He lives in Newport, Oregon. He conducted our first community of practice meeting back on November 5th. And I can tell you folks that Freddie is going to be the most awesome moderator I have ever had the pleasure of working with. He is organized. He prepares. He prepares an AI summary at the end. He provides a recording of each meeting. There is no work beyond getting together and sharing our ideas. And our next scheduled RYLA Community of Practice meeting will be mid-January. Important for you to know if you're considering joining us is that this is not designed to be a huge time commitment on your part. Communities of practice decide within themselves how often they want to meet via Zoom. Youth Protection is meeting monthly. Interact is meeting quarterly. And once we gather a larger group in our RYLA community, we'll be able to decide how often we want to meet. Ongoing communication occurs via WhatsApp. So if you have an idea that pops into your brain tomorrow morning, get on the app and share it. It takes you under a minute to do that. So this is not designed to be a burden for anyone, rather a creative enterprise. I've provided Freddie's email address here and my email address here, also our WhatsApp link. So you will have that in the chat. And if I have your email address, I will personally send these things to you from my own desk. So strap in, folks. There's 4 pages of this. I'm just going to kind of gently scan through this, take a look, and see what, if any of these items, could spark a discussion within our RYLA community of practice. We didn't really touch on youth protection today, but that's real. In our meeting on November 5th, Robbie McGowan is on the call here today. We talked quite a little bit about how do we engage Rotarians. You've heard Siska talk about solutions to that. You've heard Shannon talk about solutions to that. What a great running start we have, thanks to these fine Rotarians. It's a challenge, though. It's a challenge. How important is it that we get Rotarians engaged in RYLA? Programming, we touched on that. Siska helped us look at The Leader in You. We talked about team building, conflict resolution. Leadership is stylistic, from communication to personality to leadership style. We know this. These kiddos, how important is it that we incorporate these things into a RYLA, no matter how long our RYLA is? We talked a lot about public speaking and communication. That was super interesting on the poll, Art, that came out in the top 3 elements that we need to include in our RYLAs. Super interesting. In our meeting on November 5th, Freddie, as our moderator, chose to make participant recruitment the main topic of our meeting on November 5th. He sees it as something that matters to all of us, and there are things we need to be careful of. There are challenges. We talked a lot about the role of schools, counselors, select teachers, administrators, superintendents. How many of our clubs have any of those folks as members of our club? And if they're not, should we, for lack of a better way of putting it, go after them? Because we kind of need these folks in our back pocket. We talked about the 4-way test speech contest as a way of recruiting RYLArians. This could be an event that is co-sponsored by a local Toastmasters club. I don't know if you all know, but Toastmasters International and Rotary International are now officially allies. There is an official alliance. So we can tap into all the resources of Toastmasters to craft an incredible communication, reflective listening, civil discourse, and public speaking component to our RYLAs. And we, heaven knows, we can provide these kids with plenty to talk about. Speakers and panelists, support staffing, getting Rotarians involved in just some of the behind the scenes things. In my last RYLA, recruited a banana master. It was a Rotarian that couldn't do much for us at camp or even before, but he could go to the store and buy bananas so they're perfectly ripe on the first day of camp. And he showed up and he loaded them in my car and off I went. So he now knows he's going to get a t-shirt for that, and he's a little afraid. Diversity, we did briefly talk about how important it is to incorporate campers with special needs. How do we do that? Perfect topic for a community of practice meeting. The RYLA alumni thread and the continuation of leadership. Shannon, you did such a beautiful job of outlining that. I was just right there with you, and I want to know more. So I'm hoping you'll consider joining our community of practice and coming as a guest speaker to talk more about that. That's the Rotary continuum in a nutshell. So congratulations. And we did talk just a little bit at our last meeting about the importance of incorporating service projects into our RYLAs. I don't think there's much disagreement about that premise. However, how to put that into action gets a little tricky, depending on how your camp is structured. So I'm going to stop sharing because I believe my time is almost done anyway, but I hope that whets your appetite for the potential of our Rotary Zones 2627 community of practice for RYLA. I hope you'll put your contact information in the chat and join us as we move forward to advance RYLA in all the ways possible, and perhaps even provide models that Rotary International hasn't even seen. Thank you, Art.
Thank you, Debbie. And I have 3 questions that I'm going to ask each of you as the panelists to give an answer on this. The first question is, from your experience, what do you feel has been the single most impactful element of RYLA? Shannon, you want to respond to that first?
Yeah, that's hard. That's a hard question because to me, there's so many impactful things of RYLA, just particularly in my own life. I just moved back from Arizona to the Bay Area, and the truth is because half of RYLA staff are my best friends, and they all live here. And so, like, in terms of my own life, it's given me really family. And I think that just also speaks to like the longevity of our staff. But I would say, like, in terms of for campers, um, the way that we've evolved our curriculum, and that's all like due to the intellectual property of Dr. Ed Kurameng, who has his PhD in education with a background in race and ethnic studies. Like he really has changed RYLA for the better. But the truth is that like true leadership is inherently tied to understanding and valuing and actively elevating diverse voices to create equitable and inclusive communities. And I think that's directly tied to like Rotary's values as well. So I think that the way that we are executing that is really being brought back into these communities at the high school level, at least.
Hey, Troy, what do you say is the most impactful element of RYLA has been for you over the years?
That's a hard one, as Shannon was alluding to. That's very difficult for me. As a RYLA participant from over 20 years ago, I don't want to date myself, but it was over 20 years ago. And the fact that we still are maintaining those connections 20 years plus later, we were at each other's weddings, we were celebrating each other as we were starting our own family. But I think, so from my experience, I think just living together, it was the first time being away from home, living together and going through such a transformative experience where we're learning so much about ourselves and meeting people from around the region that we never went outside of our high school. So for me, it was impactful to meet people outside of my high school and meet people that I played football against, I played sports against, and we instantly became best friends because we were in the same group at RYLA. Because of the curriculum, because of the intentionality of reflecting and working together. For our RYLA specifically in 5495 or senior RYLA, we play a game Bafafafa. I'm not sure if folks have heard about it, but it's a diversity related game, cultural game where we get our students to start thinking outside of their own, privileges or outside of their own kind of sphere of influence. And they're put in a game where they don't know anything. They don't know any of the rules. There's no society. It's not like there's cultural norms. And they really challenges all of their thoughts about what it meant to be part of a culture, what it meant to be part of a community. Because at that point, they're all part of this fall community, and they found a way to communicate. They were told how they're going to communicate, so there's no one that has any advantages, I guess you could say. And one of the aspects of the game is, the community that greets you, they are on the ground, but they have to greet you from the ground. And a lot of students at first will say, oh my gosh, I thought the people that were on the ground were like the lesser than community. And then come to find out, once they work through the game, they realize the folks on the ground are actually the elite community because they're closer to the earth, closer to the ground. And so it really just flips their perspective of kind of cultural norms of what it means to live in a society and things. And so I see students every year with the senior RYLA specifically leave that activity and think, oh my gosh, what have I been doing my whole life? I've been thinking about this all wrong. And so for me, that's what I think the students get the most out of, on top of the intentional time to reflect and be together and to kind of be intentionally led through conversations from their junior counselor.
Hey, Debbie, what do you think is the most impactful thing that you've seen in RYLA that helps change these kids' lives?
Yeah, thank you, Art, for that question. It is a vast question you ask. When our RYLAs are wrapping up and we're packing up and we're putting the kids back on the bus and waving them off to their next activity, which is usually homework or taking care of younger siblings, whatever it might be, for me, it's that assurance that we have provided an opportunity for self-discovery. These Rylarians didn't know that they could lead. They didn't know they could influence. They didn't know they could build peace. They didn't know they had good ideas. But at RYLA, they put all that out on the table in a safe, non-judgmental, peaceful cultural place and time. And I am so inspired. This is what I get out of it, selfishly, is the inspiration of knowing that this younger generation, they've got it. We just need to help them open that door. They've got it. Our future is bright.
All right, thank you. I know one of the big concerns of Rotary leadership is cost. And the fact that I think District 5170, you're now up to 1,050, I believe, on your scholarships there. And so there's some pushback and people saying, well, maybe we could shorten things down. What do the three of you feel would be the minimum number of days that RYLA would have to exist to be able to have that impactful experience? Shannon?
Truthfully, we have a 5-day camp, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for 5.5-day camp. And we are, at least for our curriculum and how we do things, jam-packed. We are jam-packed full. And we have also structured in free time throughout the week, like 2 to 3 hours on certain days where it's appropriate. And I feel like even though that's like extra free time that maybe could be one less day, it's so impactful for like these youth who are like, right, the like whole magic of summer camp is presence. And like you are like untied from whatever is going on at home, which can be a lot for these kids, right? Even just from school, who knows what's going on in the home, right? And just having that extra free time to just connect with peers, and to just all be in the same color shirt and no status matters. To me, our 5.5 days could not be shortened. So that is my minimum, at least just from my experience.
Okay. Troy, what would be your minimum?
Days.
Troy, you're muted.
I was just saying 5 days seems like such a great time. I would be so jealous. I've only experienced 3-day RYLA, but 5 days sounds like a very fun experience, but exhausting, but fun.
So, Troy, what would be your minimum of days that you think you'd have to have your RYLA?
I think from my perspective, a minimum is 3, because I feel like it's a good opportunity to get close and then still leave folks wanting more, to get more out of the experience and to get more involved with and interact to continue their leadership journey.
Okay. Debbie, what would be your minimum?
Thank you for that question, Art. Our teen RYLA currently is 2.5 days, 2 overnights, a long weekend, essentially. And it's not long enough. Every year I feel like there was this that didn't go far enough. There was this concept we didn't develop and give them enough chance to experience. And it just, I feel a little boxed in at 2.5 for sure. So
Okay.
I would say honestly, minimum 4, ideally 5. I think 5 is the sweet spot.
Okay.
I really do.
All right.
And of course, you haven't asked about cost. So that's another question. I know cost per participant, given that, if I expand my event from 2.5 to 5 days, that's essentially double ish. So that's a consideration too. And so you get into the whole funding, but that's another question.
Okay. My final question to you as panelists is this. What have each of you seen as the most noticeable change in the way our youth think and act since the pandemic?
I don't mind being first, or do you want Shannon? Do you want to go first?
Let's have Shannon. Okay, Troy, you go first.
I just saw Shannon thinking still. So from my perspective, I think they care about each other a little bit more, and care about their friend a little bit more, and have a little bit more thinking about maybe other people. I still think, unfortunately, they're glued to technology. So I think if we can get them at RYLA away from technology for a few days, it's a good little cleanse. But I think going through the pandemic made this younger generation care about their neighbor maybe a little bit more. And hopefully that will continue to travel with them throughout their life. But I feel like students care a little bit more. So when we do our anti-bullying presentation at RYLA every year, it always leads to some tears and some thinking and some processing about what they could be doing better to help a friend type thing.
Interesting. Shannon, what do you see as the biggest change?
To me, there's like a stronger desire for authentic connection and community, but less of the skills in how to do that. And so, like, providing those spaces for that to happen, um, I feel is really impactful. Like, I'm even thinking about we host after our Rotarian barbecue, we have a dance after with a DJ, and it's this big fun night. And it used pre-COVID, the dance floor was packed. I mean, it was like the place to be. And now, following like the year after the pandemic, it was really the social differences were so pertinent on the dance floor. It was weird. Like everyone was spread out, no one was connecting. They wanted to be in closed spaces just talking instead. It was different. And that's been getting better as the time has been going on. But now we've been providing like different outlets for that dance time, for like the evolving social needs of these kids.
It's an interesting observation. Thank you. Debbie, what have you seen as the biggest difference?
Yeah, kind of in the same realm as Shannon described. I'm noticing the kids are awkward with each other. It's difficult for them to be social. It seems to be easiest at a meal. They're used to eating with other people at a meal and probably other kids at school at lunch, so that doesn't seem to be hard. But we always have more work to do now in the beginning of camp to just get them in sync with each other. How do you tie? There's a lot of uncertainty. The self-confidence isn't there like it was pre-COVID. So it takes now a little bit of time at the front end of camp just to get them there, just to get them to that place where they feel free and at ease to interact with each other. But that's the home run when we get them to that place, and then we get them on the bus at the end of camp and they're just joking around. And we just had our RYLA camp a couple weekends ago, and one of my strongest memories, kind of on this topic, we were in day 2 in the afternoon, so we were well into this whole thing. And one of our young men, who is just a comedian, came running over to me and said, "Debbie, we've got to play capture the flag outside because it's not raining. We have to do it, and we have to do it now." And, of course, that wasn't part of my curriculum that day, 2 hours of capture the flag. But, and he just kept running on. And I think I said, "I'll get back to you," or whatever. But it warmed my heart because it was an ask to be social and to be interactive. And he couldn't have asked it in a better way.
Okay. All right. I know Rajada's been itching to ask a question here of our panel. Rajada, go ahead. You're muted.
It might help if I unmute. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to ask the question. First of all, I know costs. It just depends on where you live. We charge $375 per student, which is almost half the cost, if not more. But we have to, of course, we all know what the costs are. Last year, we spent $32,000 on transportation. This year, we are under $15,000 because we're utilizing school buses and what have you. I'd be interested to hear is how are your transportation? I know that some districts actually have the kids bring their kids to, the students to the camp. I would love to hear different perspectives, different ways of it being handled, because if we increase, I know that when we increased to 375 last year, or the year before, we've had a reduction in attendees because of the fact that clubs could only budget so much. Even though my club budgeted for 10, but we sent 30 because the interactors put a video clip together of their experience and they shared it with the community. So Kiwanis sponsored 2, Caldwell Banker, Century 21. There were people in the community that were actually giving us money to sponsor 2 kids. So that works out great. So the cost factor, I guess, is basically where you live and what your some clubs are wealthy and you have a lot of clubs that are still recovering from COVID. So the fundraising aspect of it is not up to par as of yet. So maybe just emailing some information about costs and some ideas. And the second question that I have for you, which I don't know if it's on your agenda, so please forgive me, and I know it would be a lengthy discussion, but if there's anybody that has any policies, procedures on what hasn't been mentioned, which is when you have non-binary students, and how do you handle a boy that identifies as a girl just to get into the girls' dorm, or how do you separate non-binary boy dorms from non-binary girl dorms? That has always been the challenge, and we're just trying to always prepare ourselves on how to deal with a situation like that. That is a huge factor that I have not been able to get any answers on.
I'm going to chime in here. Those are great questions, and great questions for our communities of practice. And that's exactly why our communities of practice team exists. People on here have got so many great ideas and sharing wisdom. Unfortunately, we just don't have time. I mean, looking at the time, we're going to be wrapping up in 8 minutes. So I don't think we're going to be able to address those questions directly, but would absolutely hope you and others join us in January for the communities of practice, where there can be space set aside for those conversations. So
thank you.
I'd like to pass that one question on to Shannon. How do you get your campers to the camp? What do you have as far as busing, or what do you do?
Yeah, so these are the questions that I'm going to be a little less well versed in, but we do what I know on the transportation side is we have 3 charter buses, 2 of which go to like one high school, 1 go to another, and then all the parents bring, those are like the 2 pickup locations. And then based on where you are located, student wise, you're given that address for that school for that bus pickup, and they're all dropped off and then brought to camp.
Debbie, how do you get your campers to camp?
Yeah, thank you, Art. We also have bus transportation, similar model to the one Shannon described. We are blessed in that the superintendent of our school district is a member of my Rotary Club, and that the school district comps the entire cost of the bus.
Oh, wow.
We used a different venue this year than we have in the past, which was a greater distance away from where we live. And I was worried that we might lose that benefit, that financial benefit from the school district because of that. But I reached out to her and there was just no hesitation. She says, of course, we'll get it covered for you. So yet another kind of a side benefit of making sure that we craft close working relationships with school administrators, school superintendents, counselors, etc. And once they come to understand the benefit of RYLA to their students, they see their students come to school the day after RYLA camp they're shaking their heads going, what have you done with my student, kind of a thing. They get the value of RYLA and they become partners. I actually had a school counselor from one of the high schools we serve become vetted through Rotary's youth protection guidelines this year and actually serve as one of our core staff for the entire camp.
Great. Troy, you want to tell us how you get the campers there?
Yeah, so we have a partnership with the school district currently, but that superintendent might be retiring here in the next year or so. So that's a hot topic for us with our senior RYLA specifically. We're trying to reach out to local districts currently to see how we can get students there. But they are on school district buses where we pay for the drivers to come out on the school buses, leave the buses at camp, and then they drive a rental car back home, sleep for a few days, and then come back, so they're not driving the buses back and forth. But that is something that we're looking at in the future, how we're going to adjust when that superintendent retires We just need to figure something else out. So I've been working a little bit with the transportation committee trying to figure out those next steps, because that is a huge cost, unfortunately, is transportation. And Debbie, I'm jealous that you have that connection. We had in my home club, we had the superintendent, and I asked him, I said, hey, is this something that our club we could give to our district? And he said, oh, our school buses can't leave the district. And I was like, okay, that's not helpful. So looking at potential charter schools, looking at potential churches, because I know some churches have some buses as well, seeing if they would be willing to donate some of their, or at least give us a reduced cost. But we're going to have to really look around.
Okay. Time for one other question. Somebody would like to toss at our panel here, and then it's going to be time for us to wrap up. Any other questions?
Yeah, Art, if there's no question, can I just add one comment?
Sure.
Shannon, great seeing you, and mentioning Raja, who's a member of my Club 33 and doing great work and loves RYLA. But let me tell you another name that you need to know about. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Our executive director of the 33rd oldest and 10th largest club in the world, Jordan Maharaj, boasts about RYLA every opportunity she can. She's from up in the San Jose area, I believe, but every year she'll leave San Diego, go up to that RYLA camp up there, and just she will never miss it for the rest of her life. And this young lady has gone on to, not only be Interact, Rotary, and now she's executive director of our club. And I think those are the compelling stories that are going to really get people inspired to let folks know about this. I don't know if there's any other zone brand, what we call it, action plan champions on the call. I was for our district, but unfortunately, when you look at the financial pieces that were mentioned in there, it was annual fund, it was Polio Plus, it was the Rotary Foundation. No mention about RYLA, no mention about youth exchange, no mention about the youth servicing programs that I really feel we need to get more engaged in and put those stories out front and center, because that will help really grow the program even more. Every young person should have the opportunity to go to RYLA regardless of costs. Thanks, Art.
Thank you, Michael. That's a good way to wrap this up.
Art, there was a request about the UN event this next week, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I'm the one, Sylvia Berry, and I have a request to spread the word about Rotary International United Nations 80th anniversary event that's in San Francisco, December 11th. And we really would like to have RYLA students and facilitator alumni to attend. I'll put a link here, or if you can send it out, can you send it out to your email list by me?
Go ahead and put it in the chat, and then
Yeah.
people can download and save the chat.
That'll be great. So I will do that. And yeah, and we have a student race the whole day, and the RI president and John Hika will all be there, and we have a UN leaders and other organizations been there too. I hope you heard that, but if not, here's the link.
Can I say one thing before we end?
Yes.
So if you think about it, 30% of the population in the United States are children, but they are 100% of our future. And the fabulous thing about RYLA is it gives us an opportunity to help shape their future, which then shapes our future. So I want to thank everybody that's on this call for being part of the RYLA community and all of the great work that each of you do and the lives that you touch, and how that is going to impact how our world looks in the next 10, 20, 30, 100 years. So thank you all.
Thank you. And I want to finish by thanking Siska and Shannon and Troy and Debbie for being our panelists and speakers today. I hope you found something of value in this, and we're going to sign off for this, keeping it within the 90 minutes. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you all so very much. Great.
Bye.
Thank you, Art. Thanks, Chris.